I had these obsessive desires and thoughts wanting to control them. When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object, seems to make it easier.
What's missing from the equation here? That many or most people aren't capable of depersonalizing another person and viewing them as just an object, even if they wanted to. Just like an obsession, if we acknowledge that idea for a moment, would only be able to grow because of a person's pre-existing personality traits. Dahmer is only capable of depersonalizing other people because of these traits. His personality comes first, so to speak. That's how he's able to talk about this in such a matter-of-fact way, from the perspective of someone who can't control impulses that most people either don't have, or if they did, would be able to control. So when Dahmer talks about his obsession growing, it could be argued that it wasn't so much his obsession that grew, as it was his pre-existing egotism, entitlement, callousness, God complex, etc. that came to light. Or that his obsession was only able to grow because of these pre-existing psychopathic personality traits.
You do sound, though, like the kind of person who could have said to himself, "This is wrong, I must stop."
I always knew that it was wrong, but after the first killing was not planned. I was coming back from the shopping mall back in '78. I had fantasies about picking up a hitchhiker and taking him back to the house and having complete control and dominance over him.
What happened to you in the 9 years in between that you were able to stop, that you were able to control yourself?
It just wasn't an opportunity to fully express what I wanted to do.
Dahmer keeps suggesting that he wasn't able to control his impulses, or what he calls fantasies. However, so what if the first incident wasn't planned? Later on, he describes incidents that were planned. The fact that he mentions it points to what appears to be his agenda with this interview, to underline the alleged obsessive-compulsive nature of his crimes. He mentions the words obsession and compulsion several times. Considering that he acted on his impulses, the statement, "I always knew it was wrong," speaks to how he placed his fantasies above not only the law, but also morality itself. Once again, this points to the antisocial or psychopathic personality traits. In that sense, the statement doesn't necessarily mean that he finds his actions wrong personally, but that he knows that society deems them wrong, which is different.
To fully express what I wanted to do.
Dahmer says, as if he's describing a hobby or similar positive, harmless activities. Again, the verb wanted is worth noting, suggesting what the interviewer keeps hinting at, that he was able to control his thoughts, that he refers to as obsessive. 9 years is a long time, and Dahmer rationalizing about an opportunity in the first place suggests that he knows that he was and is in control of his impulses, and also that he was and is sane. Otherwise, he wouldn't or couldn't have waited for opportunities. This suggests that the thoughts he knew were wrong were indeed wanted, not unwanted, especially because he goes on to call his heinous actions a search of energy.
I had these obsessive desires and thoughts wanting to control them, to possess them permanently.
In psychology, unwanted is a word that's associated with obsessive thoughts. Unwanted and bothersome recurrent ideas, images and impulses that intrude upon a patient and cannot be pushed out of consciousness. Wanting indicates agency and choice, not something that cannot be pushed out of consciousness.
It was almost a surge of energy. I wouldn't have to worry about any of their needs or anything. I just had complete control of the situation.
Once again, Dahmer emphasizes control as his main motivation. Oftentimes, a need for control is superficially interpreted as a result of a person who doesn't feel that they're in control of their life. However, the more relevant question is what the motivation behind the need for control is. The answer is extreme egotism, callousness, a deep-rooted sense of entitlement, God complex, and other antisocial or psychopathic traits that Dahmer's statements are results of. His personality traits are the cause, and his statements are the effect. In relation to this, describing something as grotesque as this, as a surge of energy, points to the same antisocial inclinations.
I wouldn't have to worry about any of their needs.
Most people would refer to this as caring for other people, and Dahmer makes it sound like a chore.
Why did you photograph them?
It was my way of remembering their appearance. I even went so far as planning on setting up an altar, a place where I could collect my thoughts and feed my obsession.
At this point, the interviewer should have repeated her previous point.
You do sound, though, like the kind of person who could have said to himself, "This is wrong. I must stop."
Because here, Dahmer had plenty of opportunity to stop what he keeps calling an obsession. Contemplating an altar in order to collect one's thoughts doesn't sound like someone who was out of it and wanted to escape his thoughts. On the contrary, it sounds like someone who wanted to dwell on his thoughts, on what was his surge of energy. Who wouldn't want to dwell on the thing that gives them energy?
A compulsive obsession. I'd go to the nightclubs, drink, and we'd go back to the apartment. I'd have the sleeping pill mixture already prepared. Person would drink it, fall asleep.
Having the mixture prepared points to deliberate actions that Dahmer was in full control of and had plenty of opportunity to stop.
You can move those to the front.
Thanks, that'd be good. I'll be good with it.
Promise?
Yeah, can I just take them off? I'll be cool.
No.
They hurt. That's
You got some thick wrist.
That's what I'm saying.
They hurt. I'll be good.
That's the biggest freaking set of cuts we got.
Yeah.
They hurt real bad. I want to talk. Can you just hurt? Please?
I'll be a good boy,
Promise?
Wade says. He also says, "I want to talk," in a flirtatious fashion, as a result of the detective's remark about his wrists. Overall, this is a very much gendered interaction.
I'm just gonna shut it a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be right.
How you doing?
Do you have any idea why you're here?
Nope.
You just want to know why you're here?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be a good start.
That would be a good start, Wade says, with the self-assurance we've come to expect from him, telling the detective what would be good for her to do according to him. However, from the detective's point of view, it wouldn't be a good start to bring up the charges against him. If she did, it might give Wade the times and locations he'd need to make up an alibi. Detectives need to be careful with the information they give. If subjects, on the other hand, are careful with the information they give, it's a sign of guilty knowledge.
You know, what am I here for? How about you give me something, then I'll give you something.
There was a disturbance between...
This would be a good start. You know?
Right.
With his repetition of the phrase, "that would be a good start," Wade reprimands the detective, seeking to take control. He speaks as if he's the authority. Innocent people can't wait to talk about where they've been and at what time to avoid suspicion. Wade's behavior is different. He's extremely careful with the information he lets on. This points to undisclosed information and is a sign of guilty knowledge.
How about you give me something, then I'll give you something.
This is manipulative behavior.
Disturbance between...
This would be a good start. You know?
Right. There's a disturbance
For sure.
between you and your girlfriend today, right? This morning.
Are you saying right, or are you telling me? 'Cause,
I'm asking
you. You gotta
you.
phrase this in the right way now.
Well, I'm
Yeah, if
asking...
you're telling me that's the one I'm here for, then go in with what you're telling me. But
Okay,
I'm not answering these type of questions. I'm just...
Everyone knows the detective is asking about this. Still, Wade decides to play word games. Dodging questions that innocent people would find innocuous shows that he's hiding something. By acting as if he's in a position to make demands, Wade reveals how manipulative he is, which suggests that his initial politeness and charm were little more than tactics.
So,
Anything else?
so that's accurate so far.
You're telling me. I'm not saying accurate or not.
So you were...
Tell me everything.
I'm
Then
trying to have a
stop.
conversation with you.
We're doing good. You're doing good.
So...
Anything else? Wade asks, knowing full well that there's more. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there.
You're doing good.
You're doing good, Wade says, as if he's the authority. He shifts from we to you, thus deliberately judging the detective's
I had a
performance
conversation
specifically,
We're doing
coupled
good,
with his passive-aggressive laughter with an unmistakable contempt behind it. These are telltale signs of manipulative and deceptive speech patterns.
Man, you're doing good.
So, you left in a black Honda that was registered to a female, right?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay. How did you get that Honda? Did it belong to you?
Keep going first. There's more, I feel, and then we can talk. You're doing all right, but I feel like you should just tell me. I'm listening.
Did you
It's
call
like-
your dad and tell him you did something tonight?
By evading the detective's direct questions, Wade keeps making himself look guilty. He uses hedging language, vague modifiers and weak expressions that express uncertainty and thus equivocation.
I'm not sure.
Equivocation grants the subject leeway by allowing him to modify or retract his initial statement later on without directly contradicting it. However, not sure as opposed to don't know indicates that Wade has at least some idea. Furthermore, his response is delayed, further underlining how sensitive the question is.
Right?
No, I'm not sure.
Wade's diversion tactic occurs at the exact moment he gets an inconvenient question.
Did it belong to you?
Keep going first. There's more, I feel, and then we can talk.
Showing that it's nothing more than self-serving power play. It's not that he needs more information before they can talk.
And then we can talk.
It's that he doesn't want to talk. They can talk irrespective of what he feels like the detective should do, as if his feelings matter, and as if he's in a position to make demands.
Am I being charged with anything?
Well,
Tell me what it is.
possibly burglary because you broke into a house.
Tell me everything I'm being charged with, then I'll talk to you straightforward.
That's an interesting way of putting it, because it implies that Wade knows he hasn't been straightforward, that he's been evasive. And again, he has an obvious interest in knowing everything, so he can start making up an alibi. The conversation has to be on his terms, which would be abnormal behavior for an innocent person with nothing to hide.
Well,
Tell me what it is. Which jail am I going to?
all we always go to Lee County.
Lee County? Cool. I just want to go to sleep. I'm so tired, it's late.
Said no innocent person ever.
So you met this female. Do you remember her name?
Not at all.
No.
Don't even, no, I don't. Vaguely knew her, vaguely spent time with her. Don't know her. Don't know where she's at. Don't know where she's going. And don't really care. Not my friend, not an acquaintance. Don't even know her name.
Deceptive people often minimize references to themselves as a result of their guilty knowledge. Here, there are several instances of lack of self-reference in form of pronoun deletion. With one exception, Wade goes straight to the verb.
Vaguely knew her, vaguely spent time with her. Don't know her, don't really care.
For someone who presumably doesn't know her, Wade sure is busy emphasizing how little she means to him. It sounds a lot more like he knows that saying that he knows her will get him in trouble.
Did you meet her at the bar, like towards the end of the night, beginning of the night?
In between, maybe. I don't even know when we got there, to be honest with you, so I don't want to be dishonest with you.
Okay.
Twice he appeals to honesty. In a situation like this, especially in light of Wade's dishonest speech patterns, they should be noted as red flags. Why would he suddenly feel the need to be honest with the detective? Throughout this entire conversation, he's done everything in his power to divert attention from her questions.
It's like, I love those kids with all my heart. And nothing in this world would ever make me do anything to these kids or my wife.
He says these and those, even though the pictures of his children are right in front of him. This is distancing language, which is a sign of internal disconnection. The phrase, with all my heart, overemphasizes the love that words can't express naturally and believably. He's not telling how he feels, he's persuading.
I love these girls. I love these girls so much. And this picture right here, Celeste and Bella, those are my life. I helped make those kids. There's nothing in my life that means more to me than these kids. Nothing. Kids that's your life. That's your lifeline. That's everything. Like, you make kids, they come first before anything. Kids, spouse, family. That's what it's always been.
Nothing you've told me tonight makes sense.
Watts can convey emotions naturally, so in order to compensate for that, he repeats certain words.
I love these girls. I love these girls so much. There's nothing in my life, nothing.
And points to the picture, even though it's been on the table for a long time. The distancing language continues with Watts calling them these girls and those kids, even when pointing to the picture. The phrase,
I helped make those kids.
is unnatural, awkward, and once again suggests that even when he's trying to imitate emotions and act normal, he doesn't know how to do it. With you and your, Watts makes general observations.
Kids, that's your life. That's your lifeline. You make kids, they come first before anything.
He's not talking about how he's feeling, but about how he knows he should be feeling, and that's very different. This points to cognitive empathy, not emotional empathy. When subjects are overly convincing, they unintentionally expose that they're worried about how they'll be perceived, when they should be worried about their missing loved ones. And at this point in time, Watts' family was still just missing.
And you have not shed one tear over them not being around. Chris, I lose my 4-year-old in the store for 10 seconds and I start to go panic. Panic. I have not seen any of that from you at all. Help me understand that.
I love those girls. I would never do any of this because I haven't shed a tear. Like, you get
no, that's weird. Is that weird?
Don't look into that like I don't love my kids.
Tell me, explain to me. You're crying with your wife that you're leaving her.
Watts is an imitator. When the agents bring up something he hasn't shown them yet, in this case emotion, he immediately tries to fake it, which unintentionally reveals that he's not emotional, but cunning.
Is that weird?
Don't.
He can't complete his denial, but makes a self-repair.
I would never do any of this because I haven't shed a tear.
Unlike a denial like, I didn't do anything, which is specific to the topic at hand, would never is non-committal, not specific to the topic at hand. It means that he wouldn't do anything, not that he didn't do anything. So a person who wouldn't commit a crime could still have committed said crime. Also, he doesn't actually say that he loves his family. He phrases this in the negative, prefaced with the imperative don't, persuading Lee. His primary concern is how the agents will perceive him, which suggests guilty knowledge. He uses minimizing language,
just because I haven't shed a tear,
downplaying his failure to show emotions, even though not having shed a tear is indeed strange.
And you mentioned right off the start that you haven't been in the media.
No.
Why?
It was for the first 3 days or so. When she disappeared, it was an absolute privacy issue. Not showing the grief of our family, not exploiting that. In order to, and I'm sorry to say it, to media, but to keep the media here, to keep them hungry for, an interview with me or a picture so that they would keep coming back so this story won't fall.
So to keep media interested in his wife's disappearance, he would stay out of media. This is backwards logic. Husbands, wives, and parents would welcome any earnest attention. Even if we accepted Peterson's premise, spouses and parents wouldn't think in terms of what would keep the media hungry, and this was after waiting 3 days, which in a missing person case is unheard of. Peterson rationalizes as someone with guilty knowledge.
Not showing the grief of our family, not exploiting that.
With the word grief, he speaks as if it's too late, that he knows his wife is dead. In order to defend himself, he creates a false narrative with him and his family as the protagonists who grieve, and the media as the antagonists who want to exploit that.
In order to, and I'm sorry to say it, to media, but to keep the media here, to keep them hungry for...
Peterson's apology is unreliable. He's not sorry for saying this, because it's his poor attempt at an excuse as to why he didn't want to be interviewed. Also, the word sorry should be noted. People with guilty knowledge will frequently admit to being sorry for things that they know they can't be convicted of, because there are things on their mind that they don't disclose and that they actually can be convicted of. During his interrogation, Chris Watts admits to an action that he knows he can't be convicted of, acting like that's his big secret, cheating.
But you weren't here today lying about something else. So we need to talk about that, okay?
I cheated on her.
I know. And this is very good.
I'm not proud of it. I cheated on her and I feel horrible for it. I didn't hurt her. I cheated on her. I hurt her emotionally. I cheated on her. And I feel absolutely horrible about this, but that's what I've been holding.
He repeats the verb hurt, presupposing that he did in fact hurt his wife somehow, even though he just stated that he didn't hurt her.
I didn't hurt her. I cheated on her. I hurt her emotionally. I cheated on her.
Watts has finally found something he thinks he can use to defend himself, failing to realize that his own speech behavior makes it unreliable, that cheating is the reason why he's been holding something back.
But unfortunately now, the suspicions of me have grown so great due to people, wondering what happened to the inappropriate relationship that I had with Amber Fry, that it's necessary to speak its appropriate time to, in order to ask people to keep looking for Lacey, because they're not looking for Lacey as much as they should be right now.
There's a misalignment between Peterson's voice and face. Peterson only uses his voice in a contrived attempt to simulate emotions, because he keeps a firm gaze on Gomez, as if he's checking to see if she's buying it.
Because they're not looking for Lacey as much as they should be right now. But
Unfortunately, he says, as if he's annoyed that things aren't going according to plan. In relation to this, the word necessary also indicates that he's not doing this interview because he wants to.
That it's necessary.
What he's doing here is very manipulative. What he really wants is for people to stop talking about his affair, but he knows he can't say that, so instead he makes it sound like people's focus on his affair keeps them from looking for Lacey. So now he's interested in asking people to search for Lacey, but yet he had no problem waiting 3 days before getting media involved. Sure. Also, it's possible to do 2 things at the same time. Focusing on his affair and searching for Lacey aren't mutually exclusive, no matter how much he wants that to be the case.
That I'm glad that Amber came forward. You want me to turn that off?
Yeah, what is that?
That's my phone, unfortunately. I thought it was off. And I'll just answer that question again. Yeah, it's kind of going crazy, isn't it? Okay.
Peterson's first reaction is to turn off the phone without even considering that it could be an important call. But then again, Peterson knows that there isn't going to be an important call because he knows what's happened to his wife.
I'm glad that Amber came forward.
Yes, he looks ecstatic. It totally doesn't sound like he's saying that to disguise how annoyed he is.
I'm glad that Amber did the press conference. I'm glad that she came forward because it allows us, and it allows lots of people, I believe, to start looking for Lacey again, because it's slacked off because of that, because there's suspicion about me.
The reason why we can know that Peterson's being deceptive when he says he's glad about Amber coming forward is because if he really believed that admitting to the affair would help find Lacey, he would have admitted to the affair when Gomez originally asked him about it.
Why didn't you just come forward at the time when I asked you if you had a girlfriend? Why didn't you just come clean then?
Right.
Peterson does what he did earlier, which is to deceptively make it look like you can't do 2 things at the same time, focus on the affair and find Lacey. Us and lots of people, he says, once again hiding behind other people, so that it doesn't look like he's alone in thinking this poor attempt at an excuse. Peterson points fingers at anything and everything so as to avoid pointing fingers at himself, because he's the common denominator.
Your stomach must have been turning, though, when you see her go on television and it's national. And here's this girl saying, he lied to me. He told me he was single.
Sure.
I mean, your stomach must have been turning.
you know what, is a positive to allow us to go on to search for Lacey.
Amber didn't have to come forward to allow us to go on to search for Lacey, as he phrases it. Previously, he stressed his decision not to be interviewed as an absolute privacy issue.
Absolute privacy issue.
And he stressed that people's focus on his affair stopped them from searching for Lacey. But now, suddenly, he's acting like he's glad that his private life is made public. In order to stay logically consistent, he should actually be against Amber coming forward, as it'll raise even more questions about him, and thus slow down the search for Lacey.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here.